is the Monday, October 28, 2013 work session of the River Edge Mayor and Council. It's now 7 p.m. If we could all stand for a moment of silent prayer. With continued wishes for a speedy recovery for Artie Montemiro.
Yeah.
Councilman Mignon, could lead us in a salute to the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Adequate notice of this meeting has been provided by sending notices on December 21st, 2012 to the Record and the Ridgewood News, positioning notice of this meeting on the bulletin board in the lobby, and filing a notice of the meeting with the municipal clerk. I'd like to remind all members of the public that we have 3 fire exits in the council chambers, 2 to the front and 1 to the rear. Moreover, we are on the record both by video and audio, so anything that is said is being recorded. If you wish to speak during the public portion of the meeting, all you have to do is give us your name and address, and you can ask any question or make any statement that you choose. Can I have a roll call, please?
Councilwoman Murphy.
Here.
Councilman Eckelfreda.
Present.
Councilman Capola.
Here.
Councilman Mignon.
Here.
Councilman Bartoloni.
Here.
Councilman Papaleo.
Here.
And Mayor Moscaratola.
Present. Okay, we have what looks deceivingly like a short meeting. We have the Community Development Block Grant applications on the Borough Administrator's topic. Mr. Arakellian is in Las Vegas, so I didn't get a chance to speak to him regarding the applications. So we can continue to look at the available applications that we want to make. Anybody like to discuss that issue further, Alan?
I have some recommendations and some suggestions. I placed, if I may, Mayor, I placed before the Mayor and Council a couple of documents. We were asked to look at the possibility of retrofitting bathrooms, and you had the reply from the Community Development Block Grant representative indicating that if you've already done a bathroom, even though it may not be up to current standards, they may not want to pay for it. Now, whether the council wants to accept that or challenge it, that's up to the mayor and council. But I've also placed in front of you some information with regard to our low and moderate income area. There's a map that's attached to a memorandum which illustrates that the one area, according to the old census maps, which we must use, is an area that's bordered by Reservoir, Bogert, Kinderkamak. It contains Oxford Terrace and Rutgers Place, basically. That's our low and mod area. Please keep in mind that if you pick a project that falls to the border of that area, those percentages get averaged with the surrounding locations, which may mean that they're no longer eligible as a low and moderate area. I can tell you we did do one application in that area many years ago for the planting of shade trees. You would ask for some ideas for what you call brick and mortar applications, and we have 2 for you tonight. One of them has to do with additional ramps that would be that are still open around the borough. The superintendent of public works surveyed these locations that you have in front of you with some pictures. There are 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, about 15 locations. I would ask that you keep in mind that some of these locations may not be feasible for a ramp. For instance, if you have a catch basin at that location, if you have a fire plug at that location, it may qualify as an exception to the rule as opposed to creating a ramp there. So that would have to be looked at by an engineer who would make those determinations. In addition, all of these grants have a leverage requirement, so the leverage on this would be that we would, and this is what we've done in the past, we've had a history of doing these programs, we would pay for the design and the inspection costs, and the block grant program would pay for the ramp installation, the construction itself. In addition, I think in 2012, the superintendent and I, thinking about the low and mod area, we surveyed some of the curbs, sidewalks, ramp locations within Rutgers Place and Oxford Terrace. And we have some information there, some pictures, which describe that as a potential application as well. In fact, at the time, the mayor and council had asked the borough engineer to work up a complete replacement cost of those curbs and sidewalks, so we have that engineering estimate in hand. So those are two ideas that you have, and I don't need a decision tonight. As you know, this is an early December application, so just a couple of ideas for you to think about, and we'll put it on for discussion in the second work session in November for you to discuss and perhaps decide on. Please keep in mind, when you do brick and mortar, though, you do need an engineering estimate to submit, or an architect's estimate to submit, and that could take a little bit of time to get that together. As part of the ramp program, I have some pictures up on Memorial Park. Your recreation director would also recommend that we reconstruct the sidewalk by the camp office to make that more conducive to ADA compliancy. So we would include that with this ramp program, the town-wide ramp program that we've looked at. And then finally, you have an application by a nonprofit, the senior residents at St. Peter's. And from time to time, we have endorsed these nonprofit applications. In the past, we've done so for Riverdale, for River Edge Board of Education, for the senior residents at one time. So there is a requirement that if a nonprofit makes an application, they must have an endorsing resolution from the borough. So we have that in front of you tonight for you to look at also, and to make a decision on as soon as possible, to get the endorsing resolutions done. So we will keep the block grant application question in front of you so that we can make our final application on a timely basis. Thank you, Mayor. That's all I have, unless there are questions.
Questions? Kathleen?
So you gave us this information from the 2000 census. There's nothing more current?
We asked, based on Councilman Mignon's question, whether the current maps were available, and we were told no. I have an email to that effect, that we have to keep using the 2000 census tracts.
Because this one that you have for the low income, moderate and low income, it's from 2003. So is there any possibility that number would be different and we'd be putting it in and it wouldn't be accurate?
Well, this is the map they want us to use. It's based on the 2000 census, although they generated it in 2003. So this is what they are accepting for these applications for low and moderate income.
They don't have any, so you have an email in, but there's no timeline when we're going to get a current?
No.
That's why I think the using it for something like the handicap ramps is probably a good idea, because that, if you put new ramps in, it doesn't have to be in a low mod area. It's one of those things that transcends the boundaries, so you get more for your bang for your buck. And just doing a little back of the envelope calculation here, if we're able to put in the 26 ramps that Alan and John laid out, that's going to be probably between $50,000 and $65,000. And the way these grants have been going, they've been giving maximum about $100,000 away to each town. So that plus probably another maybe $10,000 for the park, we'd be in that ballpark and would be probably in a good position to get the whole project funded. So I think...
I had another question. We were asking whether or not if a nonprofit puts in an application, would that lessen our likelihood to get any money? So we were going to ask Sandy, since you're on the community development.
You're allowed to put in 3 applications.
So we can make a resolution advocating for the nonprofit and not harm our own chances?
We would still have 2 applications.
We
still
could endorse these
Oh, okay.
nonprofits without affecting the 3 applications.
So that's correct?
They generally don't get as much awarded as the towns do, from my involvement with, I'm in the CD representative for Fort Lee, so we get a lot of from Englewood and Cliffside Park, some nonprofits there, and they generally get on the order of $15,000 to maybe $30,000 for their projects. So even a project for $150,000, I don't think they're going to get that kind of an award.
Can we put a resolution on for an endorsement for next meeting?
If you're so inclined to approve it tonight with a motion, I'll have the resolution at the November 4th meeting.
I'll make a motion to have a resolution put on for next meeting endorsing the senior residence application.
Second.
All right, there's a motion and a second for a resolution to be on the agenda for the next meeting to endorse the Senior Center at St. Peter's Community Development Block Grant application. Any further discussion? Tom?
I haven't had a chance to really look this over, but I assume, Alan, you have. Is that correct?
Yes.
What is your opinion of it? I would assume, since you moved it forward to us, that your opinion is favorable.
Well, as long as I don't have specific knowledge of the process down there. I've never been the representative to the block grant, so I would defer to others. Former Councilman Smith has been, Councilman Mignon has knowledge. So I don't know how that would play out in terms of your applications, but and I'm not sure as the criteria that they look at for the nonprofits. You know, are they only looking for barrier-free improvements? Are they looking, because this group down there might be considered servicing low and moderate income individuals? So it seems appropriate to me. It's not much different than some of the ones we've done in the past. For the senior residents in the past, we've endorsed drivers, cooks, things of that nature. So it seems to be in line with what has been done in the past in terms of that particular location. I would not have a problem endorsing it.
We also get applications traditionally from the Board of Education. Like
Yeah, I'm not opposed to it. I'm just asking if there's been any due diligence in regard to the nature of the application.
No, I haven't. I'm seeing it on my desk for the first time, so
I am too, that's why I'm asking.
I haven't looked at in detail what it is.
You're looking for facility improvements, generators,
Energy efficiencies, I mean, these...
Yes, it seems within the realm of, something we want to vote for, but having only seen it tonight and
Right.
the motion's already here, I don't have any time to review it, so I'm relying on your experience, whether this is something that, I assume we want to do it.
I mean, we have until December.
But
so-
we're endorsing them submitting an application. We're not
Okay.
endorsing the project per se.
Okay.
So it's...
And the motion
They
tonight-
have to make their case in front of the regional committee
Okay.
for the need and setting out the allocation.
Mayor, if I may, the motion tonight is merely to give guidance to the professionals to put the resolution on. Could always be tabled, or, held in abeyance, if necessary.
All right, well, we still have a motion and a second. Any questions about giving us some time to review it? Again, it doesn't have to be voted on until December, but we have to take a vote because we have a motion and a second.
Councilwoman Murphy?
Yes.
Councilman Acrofreda?
Yes.
Councilman Capola?
Yes.
Councilman Mignon?
Yes.
Councilman Bartoloni?
Yes.
Councilman Papaleo?
Yes.
Okay, we'll put it on for, we'll get another chance to vote anyway when it comes on the resolution list. Next is the HVAC at the Borough Hall.
Mayor, if I may, I just wanted to report to the council that we've had 2 meetings so far with the affected departments. First meeting did have the engineer who explained the project to us. We discussed phasing with it, and we started a discussion on the trailer issue. The last meeting, we went into that issue a little bit more in depth, and a recommendation has come from that group that rather than discuss or have the trailer option, they would like to try and use the public safety building meeting room and a couple of other locations to house, the departments that might be affected. So we're thinking about moving, the possibility of moving 6 desks into that room next door. There are bathroom facilities, there are telephone lines, there's electricity, there's security, there's heating and air conditioning. They'd have immediate access to file cabinets. In addition, you could utilize some of the foyer space outside. If you had a locked file cabinet or something like that, we do have security in the foyer now. In addition, the recreation director offered part of her office to house a couple of departments if necessary. Likewise, the court administrator offered the courtroom if necessary, and in addition, the court cashier room could be used for tax collections as well. We calculated that the trailer at a minimum would cost at least $4,000, probably upwards of $6,000 by the time we're all done, so we could avoid that cost quite possibly. I've spoken to Chief Caridi about it, and he doesn't see any issues, with it from the police department's perspective. So I just wanted to let you know where we're at, and the trailer would have issues in getting the electric installed. It might have complications. If we put it next to the fire company number 1, we have a parking issue as to where the fire responders would park. We'd have to make arrangements for that, which might limit additional parking for the borough. So in thinking about this, we basically did this in 1989, 1990, and when this building was renovated, the departments moved next door. And the thought is, we might want to try that as opposed to the trailer idea. We appreciate the council, the mayor and council, offering the trailer. This might be a more viable solution and would work and save the borough some money. So that's where we're at with that right now, Mayor.
All right.
We'll
Thanks
continue to meet and discuss it.
Thanks for reporting on that. For discussion tonight, we have the police promotion ordinance. In going forward with the retirements that we've had and the need to promote officers to fill those empty positions, we have asked our borough attorney to review the promotion ordinance to see if it complies with the law, to see if he has any recommendations for any improvements before we get the next round of promotions started. Tom.
Thank you, Mayor. What I'm going to hand out is your current ordinance, and I didn't have to go too far because I actually, Chief, I'm going to come up and take one of an extra copy in case. I didn't have to go too far, guys, because a couple years ago I actually sat on the committee in my town and actually drafted a police promotion ordinance. So I just pretty much pulled my file out and the research that I did on it and combined it. So what I got in front of you is the River Edge ordinance, which I'd like to go over, the ordinance that I actually drafted, and then a very recent ordinance of 2013 that Paramus actually drafted. I want to start the policy discussion. I think after discussing it a little bit tonight, I think you guys should go home, digest it, read it, and then potentially come back next week, give some input, some ideas, and then we could try and start formulating whether you want to change it, you want to tweak it, you want to overhaul it. I just going to need some direction from the mayor and council pretty much as to where to proceed. If you look at your ordinance right now, obviously you have 2 ordinances. You have your ordinance for your sergeant. It appears this was adopted in 2001. It's a fairly basic promotional thing. It's the officer's got to be on the job for 5 years. He undergoes an evaluation, which is it says it can include a numerically scored written test and may include a psychological assessment, and the mayor and council may require oral examination. So there's nothing really concrete. It's what you pretty much want to require at that time. There's nothing that says what the numerical score and how it's basically weighted. Talks about then the testing is going to be done by an independent party, obviously psychological is by a licensed professional. Doesn't talk about what the independent party is. And it talks about prior to the interview, mayor and council is going to do a document review. They're going to basically review the personnel file, take a look at that, and then they're going to interview the candidates that you guys select that you may deem appropriate. 4 out of 7 then votes prevail, and you're number 1, and then you'll be ranked 2 and 3 as you rank them. It's a 12-month. The test is good for, and then you can renew it after the 12 months. That's pretty much your sergeant one. Your lieutenant one is a little different. It's less than a year. I'm sorry, you have to be a sergeant for not less than a year. And then at this point, it changes a little bit from the sergeant. There's no potential written test. It's just basically they're going to undergo an evaluation and include an oral interview, and then you're going to again review the personnel file, and then the mayor and council is going to just do interviews, and he's going to make the selection and then rank them from there. So your ordinance gives a lot of discretion to the mayor and council on how to promote within the department. I'm not saying there's anything basically wrong with that, but it's heavily weighted subjectively, obviously. The ordinance that I drafted a couple of years ago, and again painstakingly drafted with another with the committee that I was involved in. So for me, this is not cutting and pasting. I actually did it. So it's one of the benefits, I guess, of sitting in your chair. I've gone through what you're basically going through, and seeing it from both the council perspective and from an attorney perspective. So I got the best of both worlds. The one that I was part of that drafted is a lot more comprehensive, and I'm not saying one's right or wrong. You may want to say, hey, let's tweak it this way, but let's just quickly go through it. It's pretty much almost the same for sergeant and lieutenant. Sergeant, again, is 5 years, lieutenant's 1 year. Same as yours, but pretty much that's where the similarities stop with ours. The one we drafted, and I'll just say it's the Little Ferry one, just so I don't have to keep saying the one I drafted. It's six prongs. There's a written exam, there's an oral exam, length of service, education, contents of personal jacket, and productivity. Procedure basically is the first thing is the written exam. That is done by the New Jersey State Police. The Chief of Police Association from the state of New Jersey. They will administer the test. It is done outside of the borough. It is a test that they create. Grading is anonymous. All candidates will get an ID number, so nobody knows who scored what except for them. You must get a 70 or higher. If you don't get a 70 or higher, the road ends for them. If you get a 70 or higher, you move on. The maximum score that somebody can receive on the written exam is 30 points for a sergeant, 25 for a lieutenant. It gets a little, how do you score it basically is the highest grade shall receive the maximum points. So if you get the highest grade, you get a 90, you get the maximum points. Everybody else then pretty much goes on a curve. And the examples probably are the easiest way to do it. Candidate 1 scores 85. The grading on the curve, he goes immediately up to 100. He gets his 30 points. Candidate 2 scored a 75. Because there's a 15-point curve there, he now becomes a 90. He times that by the 30 percentage points. He now comes up with 27 points. And then your candidate 3 had 60, so he doesn't pass. It ends for him there. So your highest, you bump him up to 100, he gets the maximum. Anybody that scored 70 or higher, they would get the bonus points of the curve, and then you times it by the 30%.
So 60 doesn't go on the curve
60
at all?
doesn't go anywhere. 70 makes you have to pass the test, the written exam. If you don't pass the written exam, you can't move on. So, let's just say these two candidates move on, but you could have obviously others. But that's how the thing. So you can have two candidates, one would be the 100, he would have 30 points, and the other gentleman would have 27 points after the first portion of it. It then goes to the oral exam. The oral exam is done by 3 police chiefs in the state of New Jersey. They are picked by the examination committee of the Police Chiefs Association. So they're going to do the oral exam. They are going to ask them questions about the law and changes and police procedures and policies. They are going to, each applicant gets the same question, and then they're going to score them basically numerically. The oral exam, I'm sorry, it says written exam, but it's oral there. The maximum that you can get, it's a little higher on the oral. It's 40 points for sergeant, it's 45 for basically a lieutenant.
Is that a typo in your ordinance?
Yeah, no,
Where
it's a
it
typo in my brief.
Where it says written, should be
Yeah,
oral?
oral, yeah. If you look at the ordinance is attached, and if you look at the ordinance, which is 24, under the written, 2421, to their oral, you will see the rank, again, the maximum that they could receive is 40 for sergeant, 45, and again, it goes as to the ratio of the thing. So again, it gets weighted.
Okay.
The maximum, the highest gets his, and then everybody else, again, goes on the curve. That's ranked, again, by the chief, the police chiefs. You guys don't see that. Then, number 3, it's a length of service. Each candidate would get a half a point for every year he's been a borough police officer. My suggestion would be a borough police officer in River Edge, not just a borough police officer. And the max they can get is 10 points. So for if you're here 6 years, you're going to get an additional 3 points, basically. We have an education. We award people that have education. If you have, the max you can get is 10 points. If you have an associate degree from an accredited university, not again from an online university, it's got to be an accredited university, you're getting 2.5 points. Bachelor's degree, you're getting 5.5 points. And then we also give, or we gave for criminal justice courses that you get certifications in from the state. You could be a DRE, you could be a breathalyzer, you could take a lot of again, points for that, and we rate those basically on how many hours you did. So you would also get points for that. You then go into 5, which is the contents of personal review. At this point, a review board is set up, and it's set up by the chief of police. You don't have a police commissioner, so it would be your police liaison, and it would be another council member that is picked by the governing body, and the borough administrator is also the review board as a voting member. They are going to review the candidate's file. First of all, the candidate has the opportunity to take a look at his file beforehand, make sure whether it's there or should not be there, or just you with the department. And then the review board will take a look at the full activities, availability, institutional history, leadership. Here's the policy. The max that anybody can receive is up to 5 points. So the review then committee would start reviewing 5 points, 1 2 points. At this point, you still don't know who's who. You only have an ID number, and all you know is that they passed the written exam. You don't know what scores they are. It's completely anonymous at this point. You just know there's 5 potential applicants, and that they're all still in the running. So it takes away the bias of potential who you know, who don't you know, and who's ranked pretty much where. The review board then, again, looks at 5 and 6 are pretty much kind of the same thing. So it'd be really a match the contents of the file, the productivity, that you're looking more towards work habits, initiative, job skills, attendance, performance evaluations, combination, management skills, things like that. It's a little bit more subjective part in 5 and 6 from the review board. They would then give a score. Borough administrator then would tabulate those scores. He would take the written, he would take the oral scores, he would take these, and he'd rank them. After that, the list of candidates would come to the voting body, and they would be ranked. And that's how you would do your promotions. There would be there's no really subjective part in the mayor and council as to then, okay, we have 5 candidates, they're all qualified, we're going to rank them. The one we set up, we did not want to do that. We left it up to, this is completely out of the borough mayor and council's hands, and let the review board have the final look for the remaining 10 points. The written and oral, again, we have nothing to do with. At that point, again, they would be ranked, and then you would hire off that basically list. And that's pretty... The last one I gave you, and I haven't, but Paramus, and the reason I give you Paramus is they just adopted it. They've gone through some litigation, and they have revised their ordinance, and it is somewhat similar to the one that I have, or I've put in front of you. It's changed a little bit. Their scoring system is a little different, and that's why they actually deduct points for disciplinary. Again, that's something you basically can or cannot do. It's clearly up to you. But the reason I gave you Paramus is I spoke to their borough attorney, and they also went through the painstaking process after litigation of revising, revamping, and putting an ordinance together. So those are the ones I throw out there to you. I'd like some feedback from you guys at a later date, and then what can't be done, what can be done in accordance basically with the law, and from there we can leave it the same, we can tweak it, we can overhaul it, we'll do whatever you guys at this point want to do. You gave the chief a copy, certainly you could get his thoughts and opinions basically on this also, and anyone else should
how many promotions have actually been implemented in Little Fair using this procedure?
I want to say 4.
And how tight was the scoring? Like, I just envision when you have things which could be a half point where some of the subjective stuff can lead us into a problem.
I don't recall, but it was tight. It was close, but I don't recall offhand. The league, though, we've provided hours. The League of Municipalities, when towns call down there, they actually have provided other towns for hours to be used as a model. So I'm somewhat proud of that. I know of maybe 6 or 7 towns that have implemented the majority